Hey, first let me start by saying that StarCraft is a game, and you should play it for fun. And I don't find these types of pushes to be super fun, but I do really enjoy learning things. I've always been all about problem solving and learning and trying out new builds and stuff like that. And I've known for a long time that this 3 racks, no gas, 12 worker, 12 marine at 5-minute benchmark push is really strong. And I've just never really tried it more than like once. So I decided to play it like 15 games in a row and really get a feel for how well it works in the different matchups. And so that's what this is. I threw all 13 games into a big long video one after another, and we're just going to see what this push sort of does. So the push itself is you make a low ground wall-in with your first supply depot and first racks. And if they worker harass the SCV that's making the racks on the low ground, you can just send in another SCV, take the first one off of mining, and just have them fight the worker, and then just start complete the racks with the reinforcing SCV. So even though it's slightly more susceptible to being harassed, it's not super susceptible to being harassed. And then you just you stop SCVs at 12, and you put 2 more Raxes up on the high ground, hidden behind the wall that you made, and then you go at like 4 minutes and 20 seconds with your Marines. And as they're crossing the field, more Marines are popping out. You use your first orbital thing for a supply drop instead of a mule, and then from there on out you're going to be muling. And as you can see, the build doesn't always win. If you hit a Protoss who has 25 workers, then he can kill 12 Marines and 12 SCVs with just workers and a Zealot. But a lot of times it does win. The main reason that it wins so often against Protoss is that a lot of Protosses make Stalkers instead of Zealots like this. And while Stalkers have more range than Marines, and they don't do any damage, and so I don't know, like, theoretically, if he made a Stalker super early and kited you all the way across the field, it would be awesome. But in practice, if they have a couple of Stalkers, you're guaranteed to get a bunker down or kill all of his probes. And if you do one of those two things, you just win the game. Because even if he kills everything you have, if you kill all of his probes, you have a mule back home and he has no probes. So generally, whenever the Protoss opens with a Stalker first, you just get a free win. And even if he opens Zealot Stalker, or even if he opens one base, almost all of the Protosses I played against 2-based after scouting my low ground wall-in, which I think is crazy, because I can't defend that low ground wall-in if you just 4-gate or something. So they'd all just decided that Terran can't defend against, can't prevent them from fast expanding, so they're going to fast expand no matter what I do. And they all fast expanded, and I beat almost all of them. So this is how the TVP worked, basically. Sometimes I would lose due to getting my Marines surrounded by workers. But as long as I didn't make that mistake, I tended to win. Like here, he has enough workers theoretically to kill me, but he doesn't get them to hit my Marines. Instead, they're hitting my SCVs, and my SCVs don't do any damage. So you really don't want to be hitting the SCVs with your probes. You want to be hitting the Marines. And once that bunker's up, the game kind of ends. So, yeah, that's the general conceptitude. So, I don't know, I think I played 9 TVPs and I lost 2 of them. And obviously in lower leagues you should win even more of them. So, I think a lot of the success of this build comes from the fact that the metagame for PvT is to expand every time, and expand. But you see, like in this game, even when people don't expand, they can't get any production out of their second gateway before you show up, unless they go gateway or something. But so yeah, that's basically. Also, anyone who makes a sentry is just automatically going to lose. Don't make sentries against this. I was surprised. Like, it's really important to try to hide the push, and I always tried my hardest to hide the push, but I was surprised how many times people would scout it coming and then still lose. So I think this is one where he wins, because look, he has all 3 pylons surrounding his gateways. That's really important. If I can just kill a pylon and unpower your gates, I'm gonna win. But if you have all 3 gates and all 3 pylons in a big pile, and you chrono boost the heck out of warp gate technology. Look, the warpins, really, like, this is the only Protoss, I think, that I played the whole time that actually had warp gate tech and 3 gateways done in time. So he just easily held off my push. But this is the funny thing that I didn't realize. I only have 4 SCVs back home, and I'm not building anymore. I've still got 4 SCVs, and I'm just going to have 4 SCVs all game. And 4 SCVs, 1 mining gas, 3 on minerals, plus 160 minerals per minute from your mule is enough to almost fully fund 3 gateways. 3 racks of Marine Marauder. So that's what I'm going to do. Because I know that with that push, even though he mopped it up, and even though he has a big army compared to me, like 3 or 4 stalkers, he has 2 nexuses. He wants to get more probes. He's going to be building probes and building probes and building probes. So I just kind of sat back and built up to 27 supply blocked myself, and then pushed out. Marine Marauder production. This is still 4 SCVs. I still only have 4 SCVs. And basically just pure Marine Marauder. And he was able to replenish his probe supply, but that's not really going to take over the world. So we forget sometimes as Terran how much it hurts other races to lose workers. Because if we lose all of our workers, that means, oh no, we only have 160 minerals per minute of income from our mule. But if a Protoss loses all of his workers, he's got no income. So yeah. Just came back and mopped him up with this giant Marine Marauder force off of 4 SCVs, and that was that one. Against Zerg, I'm only going to show 3 Zerg games. Basically, in this one you can see I did a proxy 3 racks. You can see right now at 5 minutes, I'm going to pause it to show that I had 11 Marines and 12 SCVs, which is the normal benchmark. Even though I attacked before 5 minutes, I did end up with the right number of stuff. But basically, any Zerg who hit the first inject on his natural won. At any time the Zerg hit the first inject on his natural, there was nothing I could do. Because if he has those, I think it's like 12 larvae, he can just pop out a bunch of lings, and as long as he just keeps retreating with his drones, hiding his drones, and not letting me kill his drones, then that wave of 26 lings is unstoppable by 12 Marines and 12 SCVs. He just pops out and kills everything. So these first 2 games are the only 2 TVZs I won. I only did this strategy 5 times in TVZ. After that I just went to normal builds. But generally I didn't consider this build a success in TVZ. It doesn't seem practical. Because you're like, you're cutting economy, you're cutting everything in order to have 12 Marines out really soon. But if he can make 26 Zerglings, 12 Marines ain't gonna cut it, brother. So another one, again, and the reason, again, that I won this one was that he didn't inject his natural with his second queen. So here's an example of a Zerg who did inject his natural and how just utterly not reasonable it looks when that happens. So 13 SCVs, 12 Marines at 5 minutes, that's the benchmark. I did it right, I did the build properly. This wasn't a me screwing up problem. This was a Zerg just can do something that is immune to this. We're going to see the same thing when I go and watch the Terran games. Terran also has a reaction that just makes them completely immune to this push. And that is to get a wall-in and a bunker. So anyway, you can see he's kept 16 of his drones alive until these lings pop out, and then he just pops out a million lings, surrounds me, and kills me. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm not going to do this build against Zerg anymore. So yeah, I did win 2 and lose 3, and it's not like that's a terrible ratio, but I don't know, it just didn't feel right against Zerg. So here are some pushes against Terran, and I found that pushing earlier against Terran worked a lot better, because almost all Terrans would have a bunker by 5 minutes, but very few of them would have a bunker by 4 minutes and 30 seconds. So since I had to start early, I stopped at 5 minutes to show that I had 12 Marines and 12 SCVs, like I normally do. I basically just walled in his ramp with those 3 SCVs on hold position, and then kept my Marines on the low ground killing his little dudes, and he finally ran out of money and died. So that works. And basically the way TVT went, I played a lot of TVTs, I did the build a lot of times, and the way it went was I always won if he didn't bunker, I always lost if he bunkered. So here's another example of him bunkering, and this is the scariest type of bunker, right? Because I can't even hit it with SCVs. I can't surround it with SCVs. I can't hit it with SCVs. There's like nothing I can do that will even approach doing damage to this. So this, I mean, I've lost to this 3 racks push enough times on the ladder as Terran that I know to scout for it and get a bunker if it's coming. And so does this guy apparently. So nothing I can do there. Here's another guy who he was ready to get a bunker, but he didn't quite build it in time. So again, wall-in plus bunker equals immune to this nonsense, but he didn't quite do it in time. So just like with TVP, if they get SCVs to hit my Marines, I lose. If their SCVs all hit my SCVs, then I do okay, but if their SCVs hit my Marines, there's just no chance, because I'm cutting SCVs to do this, so I'm only pulling 9 SCVs and leaving 3 at home. So it's 12 Marines and 9 SCVs against... He's probably going to have 20 SCVs by the time I show up with this. I mean, if I'm showing up at 6 minutes, he should have 24 SCVs. If I'm showing up at 5, he should have 19 and a half. So, 19 SCVs against 9, he's got a massive SCV lead. And that, if I can jam him into a choke point somewhere where most of his SCVs are idle, and then I can get my Marines to focus fire his Marines, then it can work out okay. But just in general, I didn't like the way this played out against Terran, TVT. So I transitioned to this instead, which is the 2 racks push with an expo. So you see I'm expoing at 5 minutes, and I've got my first... 8 SCVs at 5 minutes, 9 SCVs, 10 SCVs coming eventually. And they just come in and see if I can kill him. And then even if I don't kill him, I only pulled 5 SCVs and I fast expanded. And I usually, basically every time that I tried this, I forced him to the high ground. So, it puts you ahead, and I'm fine with just being put ahead. So I did do the 3 racks in TVT a lot of times, and it does work often enough for it to be worth doing in TVT if you really just want to skip the game and hope that he doesn't bunker and just get a free win if he doesn't bunker and lose if he does. But I also liked this 2 racks into Expo into 5 racks kind of more standard style of play. So you can see it's 6 minutes and 25 seconds in, and I've got 20 SCVs, but I've lost like 4. So I didn't cut SCVs at all to do this. I basically just made 2 racks of Marines. He ran out of minerals to repair with, or else he would have been able to easily surround, repair that bunker, and win. And those are the 2. Actually, I think this is one more example of a 2 rack. So again, same little low ground wall in, proxy second racks, but again, I didn't cut SCVs in this game, and I didn't make the 3rd racks. I'm going to save up and get a 5-minute command center and push with my first 3 Marines and an SCV. And he didn't make a bunker, so normally this should be... if I had 3 racks, this would have been an obvious free win, right? But he didn't. He went Reactor Hellions. And Reactor Hellions, I've loved... For a while I was trying out Reactor Hellion builds, and I loved when people would do an early Marine rush against me because SCVs synergize so well with Hellions because they can repair them, and the Hellions are fast enough so that it's literally impossible to kill a Hellion unless he specifically allows you to by being an idiot. So once you get even 1 Hellion, you are immune to Marine SCV pressure. So in conclusion, in my first 13 games, I went 9-4, and more importantly than the fact that it won a lot of games was that it did it really ridiculously quickly. The average game length was like 7 minutes. So if you want to get a bunch of games out of the way in a short period of time and win most of them, this is a great way to do it, but I don't find it extremely fun, so I probably won't be doing it anymore.